Donald Trump is now actually making a new mega announcement regarding Bitcoin and crypto. Donald Trump Jr. is adding to it, saying the Trump family is now all in on Bitcoin and crypto. But there are a lot of very, very different opinions about this. Some people are saying, great, while others are saying, oh wow. What is happening here is a complete catastrophe. We now have statements from Donald Trump Jr. live on TV, where he talks about his bullish case for Bitcoin and just philosophizes about why he thinks Bitcoin is so great, why the traditional financial system is doomed to fail, and why Bitcoin is the solution. So, no matter who we look at from the Trump family, today we have 3 statements from all the major Trump figures: Donald Trump, Eric Trump, and Trump Jr. Each one is making even more bullish statements than the other. We need to take a look at all of this. But as I said, there's also a lot of criticism. California has just announced that Bitcoin payments are now allowed there. We'll take a quick look at that too. But before we dive in, let's smash that like button. Right now, the Bitcoin price needs all the support it can get. Only if you give enough likes here, only if you support the videos enough, will they be shown to people who might not know anything about Bitcoin yet, because they might be busy with other things. So, hitting the like button and subscribing is really an act of kindness here. Definitely do it. Take a second right now. Everything here is free, but at least take a moment to smash that button. And now, let's take a look at what's going on right now before we get to the Trumps. So, all 3 Trumps. We're going to go through all of them right now. But before we check that out, we have a statement here. This one from California. There's now a law here that allows you to receive Bitcoin from the state in California. So now you can probably pay things like taxes here with Bitcoin. It says here, this is huge. Yeah, I have no idea if anyone actually wants to pay their taxes with Bitcoin. I still stick to my opinion that taxes should be viewed very, very critically. Taxes are almost always involuntary. And in that sense, it actually goes against the principles of Bitcoin, which is based on voluntary exchange. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you could introduce a fee, but taxes are always problematic. But what's much more important right now is what's going on with the Trump family. And yeah, as we know, Eric Trump said Bitcoin is going to 1 million. Donald Trump is saying here that the US will become a Bitcoin superpower, and so on. There are now new developments. And actually, the first thing we're going to look at is something rather critical, or rather, something that's currently causing a lot of division. Namely, we now have the mega announcement. Here it is. President of the United States launches Bitcoin and crypto wallet. What a time to be alive. At first, that sounds really crazy. There's even a waitlist now. You can see it here. You can sign up for it. Here is the super crypto wallet. You can also see the listed tokens here. You see the Trump token, you see Bitcoin, and you see Solana here. I don't know what else is included. And yeah, in principle, this is of course good for drawing attention to Bitcoin and the crypto space. It brings new people to Bitcoin again. Maybe even people who don't have direct access to Bitcoin, but are just Trump supporters who might end up downloading the Trump wallet, and so on. LOL, how crazy is that? I was just about to read a statement from Donald Trump Jr., and right this second, there's actually another update coming in. Now he's actually posting here. I'll translate it into German. Right now, Donald Trump Jr., and as I said, this is really not a joke or anything. I'm not making this up. But just as I was about to read it, he makes a post and says, the Trump organization is not involved with this wallet product, and I know nothing about it. Stay tuned. World Liberty Finance, Financial is basically the official one that we have been tirelessly working on. We'll soon launch our official wallet. So, they will be releasing an official wallet soon. But what's out there right now, what Bitcoin Magazine shared, what all the big channels shared. And look, I fell for it too. That's not real at all. It's actually a scam. How crazy is that? And it's even cooler to discover this live while making a video. So, you really have to look at the whole story again. And in my opinion, see it in a very positive light. Because a shitcoin wallet where you can hold some kind of Trump tokens. Yeah, I just think that's, well, let's say, problematic. There are already plenty of good wallets out there. Why do the Trumps need to release some kind of shitcoin wallet now? The thing is, these are always software wallets. I always say, get yourself a hardware wallet. I'll also put a link below again for the TREZOR hardware wallet. Alright, use Bitcoin Hotel, all lowercase. Then you'll also get a massive discount. That way, you can be totally secure, completely safe, basically operating within the Bitcoin network. But with software wallet solutions, you're always vulnerable, because the wallets aren't offline, they're online. They're susceptible to hacks, because your phone could be hacked at any time, your computer, and so on and so forth. But if I'm reading this correctly, Donald Trump Jr. still wants to launch his own wallet here. So let's see what comes out of this. Michael Saylor, who just recently retweeted Eric Trump when Eric Trump said in Las Vegas, everyone in the world wants to have Bitcoin. And now let's actually see what Donald Trump Jr. has to say. That's the other younger son of Donald Trump. He's also extremely bullish. Eric Trump has also made a similar pitch before. So you can see, they're coordinating a bit here. Of course, they have similar viewpoints. Obviously, I would say Eric Trump is the initiator here. He's the most bullish of them all. But what Donald Trump Jr. is saying now is honestly both fascinating and shocking. He actually said, his family is now all in. We're no longer part of the traditional banking system. Instead, we're all in on Bitcoin and crypto. Check this out.
The reason we got into crypto and we're all in on crypto and we're doing American Bitcoin and we have World Liberty Finance and USD1 was because there was a time, and probably I'd been on this show, where I could call any single banker in New York City. They'd pick up the phone. I'd be able to get a loan for whatever real estate project I was doing across the street. Then we got into politics and all of a sudden they wouldn't take your call. You couldn't get financing. We were debanked. And what I realized, and my brother realized, because we were the recipients of every subpoena imaginable, was that, you know what, we were actually just the top of this sort of pyramid scheme that we didn't realize we were a part of, that the financial system was totally undemocratized.
We have to pause right here for a moment. He's simply saying here, okay, the reason why he and his family, Donald Trump, Eric Trump, and so on, are all into Bitcoin and crypto is because they were basically debanked. They were just blocked here. They were basically shut out of the banking system. They used to have really cool banking connections. Whenever they wanted to do some kind of deal, a real estate deal, they're very, very successful real estate people. And by the way, Eric Trump said the same thing. They would just go to a bank and say, okay, hey, I want to buy this property. Let's sort out the financing and everything. And ever since they got into politics and probably spread the wrong narratives, they got canceled. They were debanked. That means they no longer really had the opportunity to participate in the financial system. Sure, they probably still had an account, but they couldn't do things like take out loans or handle other credit transactions anymore. That's always the big problem. How some people get richer through the Cantillon effect, while others become poorer. The people who can take out cheap loans here, the companies that are basically bombarded with low loans through the fiat money system, 1, 2, 3%, 0%, and so on. They can get into debt here in what is essentially toilet paper money, where they have to pay back less and less and then leverage their companies, or in some cases even keep their companies, which are no longer profitable, alive with cheap money, and other small companies that cannot participate in this system, because they do not have enough assets to back them up, or because they are simply spreading the wrong narratives. These people really can't participate in the system. I actually have to tell you a story about this. I won't say which bank it was, but we actually dealt with this issue back then. We wanted to get loan financing and so on at the time, and then the bank came and said, okay, here are the terms for you, but only if we're allowed to have a non-binding consultation with all the employees in your business at our bank, a financial advisory meeting. That would have meant all the employees would have had to show up, and each one would have gotten a consultation. They probably would have tried to sell them a home savings contract, or something like that. Then you'd get better loan terms. And that's just how some banks operate. Not all banks, but there are definitely some bad players out there. Like I said, I'm not going to name any names here or anything, but there are some who either don't accept the wrong narratives and debank you, or who pull some really shady closing tactics. Like, hey, you'll get better terms, but I need to scam all your employees first, and then we can make some cool deals here. Otherwise, you'll just get a worse deal.
Brother realized, because we were the recipients of every subpoena imaginable, was that, you know what, we were actually just the top of this sort of pyramid scheme that we didn't realize we were a part of, that
So, you're also clearly saying that the financial system is a Ponzi scheme. And a lot of people always say that Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. But if we really take a look, okay, what is the pension system in Germany? What is the financial system? And so on. These are the real Ponzi schemes, where new money always has to be printed, where we constantly need new purchases of government bonds. If there are no more purchases of government bonds, then the whole system collapses, and so on and so forth. And it's a huge shitshow that's going on here. And of course, it's pretty wild that such big personalities are actually getting worked up about this on TV and are now bringing it to light, because for a long time, this could be kept under wraps. And Bitcoin is exposing exactly these abuses, this unfairness in the system, this chaos in the system. That's exactly what Bitcoin makes visible here.
The financial system was totally undemocratized because we had a certain balance sheet and whatever, we could kind of do whatever we wanted. The regular guy was messed up. Now we were all of a sudden in the shoes of the regular guy that wouldn't be able to take advantage of the markets. And we said, what's the solution for that? The answer is crypto. These decentralized platforms where you're not beholden to this, where you create efficiencies. As a guy that did real estate, why am I paying coins in and out for title insurance that could be done on the blockchain?
So he says, the solution to all of this is crypto. I would say, I agree with that. But especially Bitcoin. I would say Bitcoin is really the solution here. Because Bitcoin offers censorship resistance and absolute scarcity, which you don't always get with other projects. Of course, you can also use stablecoins or, in some cases, other cryptocurrencies to bypass the banking system. I'm not denying that at all. But you really have to look closely. What exactly are you trying to do? Okay, do you want to save your money, or are you trying to do something else? If you want to save your money, then Bitcoin is probably the very best option. And that's just crazy. The system is basically fighting against people, and by hurting others, they're actually pushing more and more people toward Bitcoin. That's exactly what I always say. Hey, I don't need any promotion from my YouTube channel. I don't need marketing ads or anything like that. No affiliate. No, not affiliate. No marketing campaigns or anything. Because the best marketing campaign for the YouTube channel is what the German government is doing, what the US government is doing, what the central banks are doing, Jerome Powell, Christine Lagarde, and so on, all the banking cartels and so forth, the Bank for International Settlements, the International Monetary Fund, and so on. Everything they do is the perfect advertisement for Bitcoin, of course for every YouTube channel that deals with Bitcoin and so on. And it's kind of a bit twisted, because it's such an unfair system. But the crazy thing is, the more the system escalates, the more this YouTube channel benefits. It's a really, really crazy world, and I sometimes find it honestly pretty strange. I mean, of course I position myself smartly here, because the more the banking system falls apart, the more the debt-based system gets exposed, and so on, the more people will run to alternatives, and so on. But at the same time, of course, Bitcoin's growth happens at the expense of a lot of people suffering. But that's just how it is. Sometimes you just have to get burned to find new solutions. If you don't get burned, you won't come up with new solutions. And yeah, that's why it's very, very painful for a lot of people in the short term. It's not my fault that some people end up getting burned. It just has to happen. It's simply a cleansing process. But in the long run, they'll find a much, much better solution here. And I'll get into that now.
So we got into crypto not because it was like, hey, this is the next cool thing. We got into it out of necessity. We got into it because we understood just how quickly we could be turned off, even as an incredible developer from New York. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that we didn't change the skyline of New York City, but that disappeared in an instant. I mean, we're getting sued by New York City. Gee, $500 million fees for paying back loans on time with interest. These aren't, fair markets. There's nothing egalitarian about any of that. So we actually, as innovators, as people who understand these things, we went all in on a concept that makes total sense because we actually been the recipients of how quickly that can be shut off.
So he's saying here, we're the best example of just how quickly you can be debanked, and that even wealth and prosperity don't protect you from it. And they generated massive wealth here, had huge projects, and so on underway. Still, they were debanked in a matter of seconds. And the crazy thing is, he didn't come to Bitcoin voluntarily, but out of necessity. And that's always the thing. People can learn either by thinking things through and maybe coming up with a better solution, or a lot of people only get involved after getting burned. That means, as Mike Saylor also says, you need to know. He also says some really strange, shady things. You pay off your loans on time and still end up having to pay high fees and overdraft charges. And who knows what else. So there's definitely some shady stuff going on there. Bitcoin definitely does it better. Bitcoin fixes this. So if you want to buy Bitcoin, if you haven't had a way to buy Bitcoin yet, or if you're looking for a cool platform to buy Bitcoin, check out 21 Bitcoin, the easiest way to buy Bitcoin in Europe. With the code BitcoinHotel, you can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. I'll put the link below, so definitely check it out. See you until then. Peace out.